Hey guys, what's going on? Back again, trying to knock out a couple of videos at the same time. Recently, I watched a video that Travis did showing his ReAction figures. And if you're familiar with collectibles, movie, television, things like that, you might have come across these. But they're really kind of designed for people that like the throwback figures from the late 70s and early 80s, which he kind of explained as well. For me, I'm very nostalgic for these figures because I was a big collector of the Kenner Star Wars line. I have pretty much all of my original Kenner Star Wars figures. Not really any of the play sets, ships, things like that, but I got the original figures. Which I didn't bring those here to show today, but I might in a future video. Actually, what I wanted to show today is actually the ReAction figures I've been collecting so far. I've been picking these up at places like Hastings, places like Toys R Us, and Walmart and Target and such. They have these as well, and Barnes & Noble has a pretty good section. But I was going to show what I have so far. There's a few of these that I picked up on Amazon pretty early on, and some of the others I've been able to stumble across in other places. First thing I'll show is my Back to the Future line of figures, and you might notice they look really generic, like they're kind of just almost like no detail, but that's how they're kind of designed. That's the nostalgic feel of figures from that time. This here is the George McFly. I'll just kind of show it there. If you've seen some of these, I'll kind of go quickly, and maybe you'll get to see some of the rare ones, or if you're really looking at these hard, I'll try to keep up there as best you can. The backs are all kind of the same, but this is Biff Tannen. And these are all pretty much designed from the Back to the Future, the first movie, so maybe they'll do Back to the Future 2 or 3 at a later date. Of course, here's Marty McFly, one of the popular ones that everybody's wanted. This version comes with a skateboard. It's kind of hard to see there on the side, but that's skateboard Marty McFly. And the reason I say this version you'll see in a second here after I show you the Doc Brown. Here's Doc Brown, which comes with a remote control that controlled the car, at the beginning. And from that scene there, they also made this Japanese exclusive, which that I'm assuming says Back to the Future there in Japanese. And this is kind of like just the little insert they put on top of this. This was a promotional item that they gave away with a magazine, kind of like a toy collectible, plastic kind of thing. And I'll just leave it kind of like that. But this version of Marty McFly that was available in Japan actually comes with Einstein as well. And you'll see him there in the corner. The Marty McFly is pretty much the same. I noticed the coloring is a little bit different. His pants are a little darker. And his arms on his jacket go from gray, or I guess it's actually his shirt that he's wearing underneath the vest, go from like a gray version to a blue version here. So there is a slight variation to the color design, but for the most part I believe that this is just something that they could put Einstein with. So that's kind of a cool item. This version does not include the skateboard. Let's see here. Some of the other figures I picked up, Travis showed as well. This is the original Rocketeer. He also mentioned there's an exclusive version of this that has been at Hastings and a few other places, but was designed for San Diego Comic-Con. Is black and white. Personally, I prefer this one because this is not really a black and white movie, so this looks pretty cool. It's just the regular design with that kind of brass helmet and the rocket pack. I, of course, have been picking up the Firefly figures. You probably could have guessed that based on what I was. This Halloween, which is Jane Cobb. The backs of these are all kind of the same, including even the variation figures are not listed on the backs of here. This is a variation that was available only at Comic-Con, which has the hat, and I think his weapon is slightly different, but maybe not. Maybe no, it looks like the weapon's the same. I think it's just a head sculpt difference. So there's that. This is the Jane Cobb with hat. There you go. Here's the regular Jane Cobb, just FYI, so you can see these side by side. The front picture is slightly different, back's the same. But the Jane Cobb with the different head sculpt without the hat. Here's the Zoe, which I looked for a really long time. This, for whatever reason, was the hardest to find for me out of the regular non-chase figures or non-exclusive figures. Here's a Kaylee, which is what my girlfriend dressed up as. So that's a cool one. Here is most people think of him as Wash, but it's Hoban Washburn. But Wash's figure comes with two little dinosaurs. Mine is like stuck at the bottom. I'm not able to hear that. Here is the Captain Mal, or Captain Reynolds, Malcolm Reynolds. This figure here has actually got two other variations. They're exclusives. There's one with a jacket that was exclusive to, it's like a long brown coat, and that one was exclusive to Comic-Con. There's another one with like a blue shirt that's exclusive to, I think, Go is the name of it. I'm not really familiar with that store, but I've seen the figure online. Let's go right over into my Alien figures. These are the ones that kind of really kicked off the entire series because they're based on a real Kenner late 70s design that was going to be made into a figure that actually wasn't. So you could get an idea like how this would have been kind of awkward for a kid's toy based on a rated R movie. This is the Ripley, and this was actually pretty close to what they were supposed to look like, probably maybe a little better paint job, but this is it. This is Ash. Here is Dallas. They'll have similar backs there. There's the Dallas, they all come with little accessories. Here's the Kane, which has him in his spacesuit, which I really think that's a cool design. I love that because it has a clear space helmet type of bubble there that he can look through. And there is a second series of these coming soon. Travis also mentioned that. I've seen those, the pictures, they look pretty cool. And of course, here is the Alien, or Big Chap, or whatever you want to call him, Xenomorph. But the Alien is actually a really cool design as well. It has that kind of clear dome that the first movie is known for, and it does have a mouthpiece that comes in and out. Shows you kind of there on the back what the action is of that figure. There is going to be a couple more redesigns of that, including, I believe there's one's like more of a metallic skin color in upcoming waves. Predator design as well. I'll show this one really quick. The Predator design, just because I got the Aliens, I had to get a Predator. I opted for the one that has the closed mouth. There is like a bunch of variations of this one, so I've got the one that has the closed mouth. There is another Predator figure here. This figure is an exclusive that was for Comic-Con. You might notice it has quite a bit of a different design as far as the card back. It's actually kind of the same. Mostly what they did is they just kind of whited out. You know, they made it like a really bright color. But this one, it has like a clear figure, and it has what it calls like a blood splatter, which is actually, you know, a green for the Predator blood. So that's kind of a cool figure. It's actually called Invisible Predator, but they're going to do another Invisible Predator, and I think they're doing like a glow-in-the-dark Predator. So these are the only two I've got so far, and I haven't been really excited to do a lot of those just because they're all kind of the same body with just different heads. As far as Terminator goes, which is the next one I've got here, I've got the Sarah Connor, which I really like this one because it was just so generic, and it has like a mullet, and it just like, the back of it actually, she looks worse on there. She looks a little better here, but they're pretty bad. But yeah, that's the Sarah Connor. I've also got the Kyle Reese, which actually doesn't show this jacket on the back. He actually has a jacket that reminds you a lot, if you're familiar with the original Star Wars line, the Return of the Jedi figures put out Bib Fortuna that had kind of a similar jacket to this. But yes, there's the Kyle Reese, which each of these come with very small weapons as well. It's kind of hard to see there, but there's a pistol on that side, and it's like a shotgun on the other side. Here is the T-800 Endoskeleton Terminator. There's actually two versions of this. This is the silver version. There's also a chrome version that's much shinier. I actually prefer this one, and I've seen that the chrome one actually breaks easier. It's like made out of another material. I don't know why, but there's a lot of pictures online of the chrome version with broken pieces, which I'm not really for sure why that happened. So I just got one of them. I may get the chrome one later if I can find a good one. Here's the T-800 with bio stuff on the outside to make it look more human. The Arnold Schwarzenegger version of the Terminator. So there's that one, same backs. And here is the Terminator, which this one is really more designed on what he looked like in the original Terminator. It seems like maybe some of the other models look more like he did in Terminator 2. But really, it's just like a design of the jacket that looks a little different, you know, and they don't have him with the glasses on. It really doesn't look a lot like Arnold Schwarzenegger in that one. The next one I've got here is a Goonies figure. This is actually the only Goonies figure I've got so far, but I thought it was great because it's Sloth, and he's the Comic-Con exclusive that comes with the Superman shirt. It has a Superman logo on there, so that was really cool. He's not actually on the back, but there is another version of Sloth where I heard that they're starting to glue the hat on. In this figure, the hat is separate. and I think the regular version, it comes both ways. But yeah, so far I'm kind of excited that this one has the separate hat. Of course, they make Mikey, Mouth, Data, and Chunk, so I don't have any of those yet, but those are all really cool figures. Okay, the next ones I'll show here are actually ones I got really excited about right before Halloween. I pre-ordered these online from Entertainment Earth, and that is Sam for Trick or Treat. This one, the weapon piece is loose also, which is kind of like that sucker with the half-broken piece that looks sort of like a pumpkin on it. Here is Jason from Friday the 13th, and these all have the same kind of backs there. Here is the Crow. So yeah, I think this is sort of an odd choice to put the Crow in there because I don't really think of this as much of a horror movie. But in the 90s, they actually did the same thing when Todd McFarlane did his horror series. He included the Crow also, so I guess there must be some relation there between these that I don't really pick up that other people do. But yeah, the Crow, I think it's really a cool figure. Here is the Michael Myers, kind of stinks his head slightly turned on mine. But yeah, if you're a big fan of Halloween, this is great. Of course, it comes with the butcher knife. They each come with the weapon that you should kind of think of, the iconic weapon. This here is Pinhead, and you notice, of course, it says Hellraiser 3, and that has to do with rights issues. Of course, Hellraiser 3 is the rights to it. It's held differently from like Hellraiser 1, Hellraiser 2. But since Pinhead didn't really change very much in that, it was easier to get those rights apparently. It does come with the puzzle box, as you can barely see here. It's very tiny. Pinhead himself kind of has the checkered style head, but he doesn't really have pins, which I think that would have been kind of almost impossible for a small figure to make that. Of course, you couldn't really have one of these without Freddy, so I'm glad they got Nightmare on Elm Street rights to get Freddy Krueger on here. And he does come with a separate hat off to the side. I don't know if they've made any of these with a glued hat. I hope not. But so far, this one is like that. The only one I don't have from this series is Ghostface. And apparently Ghostface is a tougher to find figure, even though it's coming out in bulk in some areas. I could never find it. These are more of classic Universal monsters, kind of like a parallel series to that other one that's very similar as far as like if you're a horror fan, you'll kind of recognize all the icons here. This is a lot of the figures that people, if you're a fan of the Remco, like I think in the early 80s, maybe 1980, Remco did a line of figures very similar to this. So this is really cool to see these again. This is the Phantom of the Opera, of course. They each got their own logo there at the top. So that's the Lon Chaney version. Here's the Wolfman with Lon Chaney Jr., which is actually his son, years and years later, because this is a silent movie. But the Wolfman here, this is a great design. I actually really like these figures, probably some of the best sculpts out of all of these. Frankenstein here from the classic. Of course, Frankenstein. This is Frankenstein's monster. And the Invisible Man, which is a cool figure that they never made really in the anything like that during the original Remco series, so it's cool to see the Invisible Man appear here in this series. The Mummy, another really good sculpt. So if you're a Boris Karloff fan, you've already got two figures in this line based on his appearances. Here is the Bride of Frankenstein, which I think is probably one of the weaker sculpts, but I'm actually really still excited about it. I'm kind of bummed that the head had to be turned sideways, but the size of her head, the way her hair kind of leans back, behind her like that. They really couldn't do it any other way, so I kind of turned it that way you see it. They did a really good job on the arms and everything to make them look bandaged. So that's cool. And of course, I'm a humongous Bride of Frankenstein fan, so I loved it either way. Here is Dracula, which they did a really good job on that as well, and luckily they got the rights to Bela Lugosi's himself to put it on the cover, because usually, out of the Universal monsters a long time ago, most of those figures, that was the one figure they couldn't include was Bela Lugosi, because the rights to his image was kind of held separately from other Universal monsters, as far as toys go and things like that, the actual licensing, not like the movies. Hopefully not too bad of a jump cut there, but I was just going to say that I've got one last figure here, and it's the Creature of the Black Lagoon. You might know him as Creature, the Gillman, or whatever the case may be. This is the regular figure, and I think it's probably one of the best of the sculpts that we've got going here is in the Universal Monster line. But yeah, this is the regular one, and what I mean by that is there is a chase version of this figure and the Mummy that come glow in the dark, which is just clear plastic, same sculpt, no color, no paint to speak of. I think it has a little bit of paint on the face, but otherwise it's like a sort of a yellowish clear plastic. This version and that version come like one per case. I think it's something like that. So it's like one of every 12 or 24 figures just like this. So pretty rare. They are also the only glow figures so far in that line. I'm kind of surprised by that, but yet I'm not. In the old Remco line, the glow-in-the-dark figures kind of came out as another wave. They re-glowed the original line. And to me, the Mummy and the Creature were probably the best of that line just because they were solid, lighter colored figures. And so they came out better than some of the other figures that they just put like a glow application to their face and a few other things. It's kind of cool that they did that as far as for something for the Remco fans. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop at that. This is all I've got so far. I might not get a lot more of these figures. So far I've opted to not open any of these just because I love the packaging, but that might change later if I run out of space. And so far I'm really enjoying this line. I don't have the Buffy figures yet, which I'm hoping to get, and I am missing, you know, just a few key figures in each of the lines I've collected. But there's a lot of great figures out there, so as far as this goes, I'm going to continue to collect them until I can't afford to collect them. But right now you can get these for like as cheap as I've seen $7.99 is the cheapest I've seen online, but that's pretty cheap. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. That's another random video kind of thrown out there. But yeah, you guys check out Travis's video. I'll try to leave a link down in the description below. And of course, you know Travis is PlanetBierwagen, great guy, and he does random videos kind of like this from time to time, but his focus is on a lot of things similar to my channel. So I think if you guys haven't checked him out, you definitely should. You'll probably really enjoy it. Okay, take care.